Miss
Okay.
Burleson, there you are. Jackie
And
B.
how are you?
Just great. Let me turn you up where I can hear you really good. This is so awesome. I'm recording this with a thing called Camtasia, so it'll look really nice. And I'm going to frame you up just right here in the things. So this is killer. Jackie, I haven't talked to you since graduation, I suppose. Yeah,
You
we
think?
have other than just online. So 40 years
Oh my
and
God.
and a lot of months, several months. What have you been doing? Tell me about your life. Do you mind? Go ahead
Are
and tell
you
me.
are you recording right now for your
Hey,
thing?
hey, hey, anything, you can say anything, but if you want me to leave stuff out, I will absolutely leave it out. Matter of fact,
Well,
I will show you this video before it goes live.
oh,
So,
okay.
so
Go
you
ahead.
get to say, Tony, kill that or not. But yeah, so this is for me and you first because it's just
Yeah.
great to catch up
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, let's see. I mean, I went to after school. I went to UNCG Greensboro and Caroline and I were roommates. So I spent 4 years in Greensboro. Actually, I spent 6 years in Greensboro because I went on to get my MBA
wow,
after four. And then I moved to Charlotte. Most of my friends had moved to Charlotte by then that had graduated from UNCG. So I lived in Charlotte and I did corporate IT type work.
really?
Like, yeah, like I was a software tester and I was a IT project manager, that kind of thing. And did that for years for like Bank of America and Duke
Wow,
Energy and stuff like that. So, but in 20, well, a lot of things have happened in the last, say, 7 years. My parents have both passed
yeah,
and changed in those ways. And when COVID hit in 2020, I really felt like I wanted to kind of get out of Charlotte. Charlotte was a little crowded and just felt I had my grandparents' house to come to up here. I had inherited that, so I'm now living in Spruce Pine in the house my grandfather built,
wow.
which is a big drastic change from Charlotte. And so
Well, tell me
yeah.
the good and bad about making that move, though. I mean, I know you're used to being in a big city, and I worked in Charlotte for a while and everything, but what do you love about being back home? Or yeah, I can say good or bad. I don't care.
Right. Most of it is good, actually. I mean, I didn't realize how much I was missing just the mountains and the trees. To wake up in the morning and look out and see all the trees, you just instantly feel calm and peaceful, or I do, versus cars and traffic and, buildings and stuff. So I think I didn't realize how much I missed just being in the aesthetic of being in the mountains and how good that was just for my peace of mind. And the bad is I miss restaurants.
Yeah.
I miss having, 100 different restaurants to choose from. But about other than that, I mean, I think overall it's been all good. It's good to connect with their classmates again. I'm connecting with people that I've known since the first grade, second grade.
I know.
That's really sweet. So, and I mean, cost of living. If you want to be real about it, I mean, it's really cheaper to live here. Charlotte was getting pretty
Oh yeah,
expensive.
yeah,
Sure. But with COVID and everything else, it's just good to be up here and have some breathing room around me,
yeah.
So I'm an Altipass, which I'm out here all by myself.
Well, you look all settled and happy and healthy, and you look very young. I mean,
Well, thank
that's
you. You do
oh, you know what that would be a good question. Is how do you think you've stayed young, Jackie? There's a thousand things I could ask you, but what seem to be your keys for staying youthful?
the two things that come to mind are like I didn't have any children,
Me too.
so they don't worry me. They don't. I don't have worry lines from that. And then good skincare. you know, things that come to mind right off the top of my head.
Well, you
So
do. You look nice. I like your hair and everything. Like your glasses. Oh, by the way, so I'm not wearing my. Usually, when I'm looking at a screen, I see okay within 3 feet. But look, we almost have the same glasses. It's very
yeah,
simple.
I
Yeah.
like it. like
Now I
it.
can't
Yeah.
see you very well. Well, so how long have you been back in Spruce Pine?
It'll be 2 years in August, full time. I mean, I was up here. My dad passed, got sick and passed in 2015.
Yeah.
So I was here for about 6 months prior to that. And then I was here back and forth between when my mom passed in 2020. So, but full time for me to be here physically has been since August of 2020. So it'll be 2 years.
Now, is it true that am I crazy for thinking you like do life coaching and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've totally switched careers now.
Tell me what you're doing now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do life coaching, but it's all kind of combined with hypnotherapy, and there's something I do called Biofield Clearing, and it's all like energy work with people, and it has a lot to do. Most people who contact me are have dealt with some sort of trauma,
Yeah.
whether it's childhood trauma or abuse or some other kind of trauma that's happened in their life, and we work together to clear that out of basically their energy field is how I would call it. So
Did you go to like specialized training and stuff for that?
yeah. I went to hypnotherapy school for a year in Tampa,
Wow.
and I went to life coaching school in New York City for a year, and then I went to took a Zoom class recently for 6 months for biofield clearing. So yeah, done different things, and they were all things that I kind of needed to do for myself personally to heal some stuff for myself, or
Wow.
just figure out, if I wasn't happy with work, did I need to make a change? So it was all sort of for me first, and then it's just kind of evolved, and it works out great because now that I live here in Spruce Pine, I can do that with people via Zoom. And I would have done it that way in Charlotte anyway. I had an office in Charlotte right before I moved up here, but COVID hit.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any reason to keep an office because nobody was going to come in and see you one on one like that. So got rid of the office and now just use Zoom for clients. So I can see clients all over the world. Does I have no limits in some way. So it's funny to sit up here in little old Altapass.
Yeah.
And be connecting with somebody anywhere.
What a place, though, to operate out of, to have your life kind of centered and able to help people. And you're in a peaceful environment where you can get your own mind cleared and right.
Right.
And so I'm probably going to share this on my YouTube channel, and I will cut out anything you don't want to share, but tell people why the mountains are special, because that's one of the things. I have a crazy little following on YouTube. I don't know if you know that. Have I told you?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So, okay, it's like 42,000 people or something like that, and it's like 26 million views. And a lot of them is, it's people wanting to know about life in North Carolina, and they're fascinated by the places that I show them from up here. But what really is so special about the region to you?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, the beauty. Just the beauty of the trees and the mountains. And I mean, I'll be driving some days and I don't know how you felt growing up, but it's almost like I don't think I appreciated it. We weren't particularly outdoorsy people and that kind of thing. So I wasn't encouraged to do that much. But now, I mean, I'll literally be driving sometimes and I'm just awestruck by how beautiful it is. And I'll literally kind of say to my dad in my head, "Daddy, I get it now.
Yes.
I get it. I
Took
get
me
it.
this
Why
long.
here? Why you wanting to live here?" And then I think too the people. I mean, especially like in Mitchell County and Spruce Pine. I mean, there's good and bad, but there's a lot of really good-hearted people here. And not that there's not good-hearted people everywhere, but there's just a genuineness sometimes here that maybe might be a little lacking somewhere else. Sometimes
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a reason I question myself, why do people even care who I am watching YouTube videos? And generally what they tell me, once in a while I'll ask them, I'll be doing a live stream or something. I say, why do you guys even watch me? And they'll say, well, because you seem real, you seem genuine, you seem like somebody not putting on. And that's man, the only thing I know how to be in this world is me. I can't be an actor or somebody I'm not.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that part of that comes from growing up there is I don't know. You can build different attitudes and different. You could build a persona for yourself and be somebody you're
Right.
not, but it's
Right.
hard because people up there see through that more so than probably anywhere I've
Yes.
ever lived. And
I
so
have said that. I have said that before. I've said you cannot fool the people up here,
no,
and I can remember that even growing up as a child. My dad or something. If somebody was whatever doing
they're
something that
being
was
highfalutin.
phony or highfalutin or whatever, or just even lying about something. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just a BS detector that mountain people have.
They're so astute.
Yes, but the funny thing to me is they're not going to let on to you that they know anything. They act dumb.
They play
And
their
they'll be like,
cards and keep them.
really? And then as soon as they walk away from you, they'll be like, oh, that was a crock of BS. You know?
So you learn to be true to yourself, or you'll get caught. You get found out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there is a coming back to, I have lived in the big city, so to speak,
Yeah.
and there is a coming back to figuring out who I am again. Like, this is a whole different way of life once again, in a way, because now I'm an adult. And it's a little odd too to be here and my parents aren't here.
Yeah.
For 35, 34 years or so when I was living in Charlotte, I was traveling up here all the time to see my parents for the most part. So it's sometimes odd to be literally in Spruce Pine now, and then they're not here. So it's almost like an anchor is gone, that was in my life. So, yeah.
I want to talk about the reunion because that's the main reason I contacted Jackie, for those of you who watch this, because I wanted to talk to her. She's been so instrumental and important to getting this reunion done. So, but before I do that, before I get to the reunion, you mentioned one thing that I thought was pretty fascinating, and I wanted to ask you about this because you said you lived in New York City for a year.
I didn't live there. I actually traveled up there once a month. The program that I took, this was back when we could fly for cheap,
Yeah.
So once a month, I went up for a long weekend to New York City, and I took my classes. I'd always tack on a day or two to do some sightseeing in
Yeah.
New York, and then we'd have all day classes on. It was either Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, and then come back. It's almost like I had enough vacation at Bank of America. I
Yeah.
could do that, and I needed that at that time. Like, I needed to, I was wanting to make a career change, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I just needed the arts and creativity and all of that New York offered and New York City offered. And it was the right thing to do for me at that time. It was almost like feeding my soul or filling my soul back up from kind of going through some situations that were real depleting.
The reason I ask you that is because I got sort of pushed into a whole New York type scenario when I worked for a travel company. I worked for Christian Tours for 8 years. That's where I learned most of my graphic design skills that I use to this day: video editing, graphic design, photography, and everything. And I did their catalogs and brochures and stuff and websites. But
Gotcha.
that you wouldn't always be busy in the office, and so they'd send you on tours. And I remember I went up to New York City for the first time. I was 27 or 28 years old, and I was absolutely flabbergasted by what was there. I went as a tour guide, and I knew nothing about the city, and it's sort of like it chewed me up and spit me out. I felt horrible. I felt like I gave the people the worst tour ever because I was just the whole time, like this. And so anyway, so I went back and I made it my goal to become an expert on New York City. And I went back and I told the lady that ran it, the lady named Nancy Burke. I said, Nancy, I screwed up in New York City. I was horrible. But if you send me back again, I'll be great. And from then on, I became like the top New York tour guide. And I must have done 25 or 30 tours up to New York City and
That's awesome.
all over the place. And so like you, I would, we'd have the touristy things we do. Then we'd have a couple free days where you just go do whatever you wanted to do. And so I've been all over, at least Manhattan and some of the Bronx and over in Brooklyn and stuff once in a while, or Queens, but very seldom over there, mostly on the island and mostly mostly Central Park and south. And but it was interesting. I come to find out that my granddad, see, my dad's dad was way older than my grandmother, and he actually fought in was a sailor in World War One, and he worked in New York City for like 8 or 10 years as a cable car driver operator. And so I never knew there were like cable cars like in San Francisco. They were in New York City back then in the 1910s and 15s, 20, whatever. And so he was a cable car operator, and he also learned how to do heavy machinery. And so he was a New York guy, and then moved to the mountains, met my grandma. They got married, and so I just thought it was interesting that I had roots. And so one day I was down at City Hall, and they had these big old pictures up on the walls of just early New York, and it was a street scene. Somebody shot a photo with all the cable cars on it, and I thought my granddad could be in one of those cable cars. And I don't know, I sort of became, even though I'm this mountain guy, North Carolina guy, I sort of developed a real love for that city. So it's funny that you and I both from Spruce Pine would end up doing stuff in New York and liking it.
Yeah. No, when I was trying to choose coaching schools, I kind of narrowed it down to one in Atlanta and then one in New York City. And the one in Atlanta made more practical sense, but I just knew there was something about New York City that I needed for myself. Like I needed that diversity. I needed that the arts, the museums, all of it. I just needed that. And it was so funny to me because I would go up there once a month, and I went to school with about 30 or so New Yorkers and people from New Jersey. But the thing is that, when they live right there, they never do the stuff that's right around them.
Right.
So every time I go to class, they would be like, "What did you do this time?" And I was like, "Oh, I went and did this little opera."
They never do the Statue of Liberty. Any New Yorker you sit down and actually have a conversation with, it got to be a point where I would just ask, "Have you ever been to the Statue of Liberty?" "No, who goes down there?" "No."
Right.
I've been to the Battery a couple times. No reason to go back.
I mean, every time I go up there, I went to the top of the rock, which is essentially the same thing as going, and there would be people in there. They'd be like, "I have always meant to do that," and I'm like, "Do it! It's just right there," So I became like an informal tour guide to my coaching class to like tell them, because I would research the travel books to find like obscure things. I did some of the mainstream stuff, but I would also look for just some really kind of off the wall thing to go do or whatever. So, and I mean, I'm still friends with many of the people from my class, and that was just that was kind of a pivotal time in my life of like starting to change from out of a business corporate mindset to life coaching and just opening up to new possibilities and stuff like that. So. Yeah.
Well, Jackie, I could talk to you for 3 hours. I feel like, but I would. The main reason I reached out to Jackie was to talk to about the reunion. So we're going to have our 40th reunion from high school. We graduated in 1982. That would have been like June of 1982. So I can't remember if it was you, Anita. Who was it that started coming up with the idea to go ahead and
do it? Well, I was kind of, now that I'd moved back here, I was talking to lots of different people, and I just was hearing like little pockets of this person's wanting to get it started and this person's wanting to get it started. And I just kind of knew from coming from an IT background that probably the best way to get it started was to get a Facebook page going, and then get everybody on there, and then that's the best way to communicate versus one-off, phone calls. You just can't. I wouldn't have even volunteered if we were going to do it that way, because that just seems real painful. So it's almost like if we can get it on Facebook and get going that way, let's do that. And that's true. I mean, even just that alone has been great. Don't you think?
Oh yeah.
We can share photos, and
it is so cool to see people. Like I enjoy looking at Larry Ollis's stuff and Tad Carpenter. And I saw Anita McFalls is going to come. I mean, these are
Yeah.
people that I went first grade with, and Greg
Yeah.
McKinney's going to be there. And so I'm looking, and some of the people I guess I thought would be the first ones to sign up, I'm not seeing yet,
Yeah.
I wonder. Do we? I mean, is there something we should be doing if we don't see our friends in the list? Should we prod them a little bit? You guess? I mean, is that a bad
Yeah.
thing?
Please do. I mean, we actually have. I'm actually running the reunion just like I would an IT project.
Yeah.
So I've got a sub team working on contacting people that we we actually put together an Excel spreadsheet, and we try to compare old annuals to, like, we had the back of our graduation program that had a bunch of names on there, and then just common knowledge of people, and I think we came up with about close to 180 names.
Cool.
But I had to add a column to kind of say, we know we've contacted this person for sure, like Facebook, and then this one we haven't contacted. But then some, are some are deceased. We're at that age.
That's why. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to confess, I've not been to a single reunion we've had, and not that I didn't want to go. It seemed like there was always some sort of something going on that really just got in the way. And
right.
I mean, I know one time I was traveling a bunch. One time there was just a whole lot of just crazy. I've been in like super intense business type stuff, and just had a bunch of freelance work to do over the weekend. I wish I could go up there and do that, but and then the big strong impetus for me now is I don't want anybody else to be gone. When I started finding out that certain people were gone, and I was shocked to find out who some of them were, then I said, "No, it'd be great to see everybody, anybody that I knew back then, and they don't know what they meant to me, and I want to be able to tell them for one time, I think back, my close friends were like Tim Collis and Tim Queen, Carl Buchanan, and Wes Brewer, and people I played ball with, and but then people like Scott Lackey, you went and saw Scott, and man, it sure would be great if he could come. And I think of just all the people I was in class with, and I feel like I was probably fairly aloof in high school. I don't feel like I was. It's funny, so I played ball and stuff, but I wasn't really part of the ball crowd. It's sort of I was more of a nerd than they were, and I got into music, and I was hanging out with whoever I could find to teach me guitar chords or whatever. And I feel like I wasn't as good a friend as I could or should have been to people. And so it'd be kind of neat when I see him. I want to just give him a hug and say, "Man, it's just great to see you again." And every time I see somebody new pop on the feed there on Facebook, it makes me really happy. It makes me happy to see David Ford or all these, just everybody there. And if it's people I can't quite picture in my head, then I go back to the book. Oh, I do remember that. I remember them being in my class, and I remember how funny they were or how smart they were. Like you, if I were to like you always thought was brilliant and smart and funny, and you were sporty. You played basketball. Did you play volleyball too?
Well, I played up to a certain part. No, I didn't play volleyball.
You're mostly a basketball player.
Up until at least sophomore year, and I think as soon as I could work, like age 16, I kind of stopped. I was losing interest in basketball, I think, and I started working and making. I like making money, I guess.
Yeah. Well, nothing wrong with that.
Right. I think I liked having my freedom. I think that was probably more of it than anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, but I agree. It's really sweet to reconnect with everybody, and I want to thank you for providing a lot of our tech support needs and video things, and that's just invaluable to have that. And one thing that struck me a lot about you posted that really sweet little video that was like first grade or second grade when you had a birthday party.
Greg Stafford was in it, and Tracy Hallfield, and Chris Penley, and it was crazy. All the people you hadn't seen in forever. Sherry Sparks, and
well, just everybody in their little desks and having little cupcakes. But what struck me about that was just how different times are now. Like that was just such a sweet and innocent time versus like some of what's happening in today's
Yeah.
world. We didn't have to think about anything remotely like what goes on today. And I don't know, we just all everybody looked so sweet and innocent in the little video shared. And even the teacher, getting to see, I forget which, was it Miss Parker or who, I
It was
can't
Miss
remember.
McBee. Yeah.
Miss
Faye
McBee. Like the
McBee.
way it reminded me like she was always immaculately
Oh
dressed.
yeah.
You remember? Yeah, like I was like, oh yeah, that's how it just brought back memories to think about all that. So
People that watch A Christmas Story every year with little Ralphie in it. That's what we lived, didn't we? I mean,
right,
it was pretty
right,
much like that.
right, right.
And
It was.
but so you do think it's appropriate for us to like I've not seen Van Duncan on there. I've not seen Tim Collis. I've not seen.
No, well,
Is there a separate way that
no,
you're
It gets on there. He might be going under Jack
Jack Van
Duncan,
Duncan?
maybe. Um, and
Like I want to prod some of these people. Say, make sure you sign up.
yeah, I would have thought Tim would have been on there, but I'll double check again.
Well, I think he's on the list. I just think he hasn't responded yet. But I'm sure hoping he'll come because
Yeah,
that
I
guy
hope so.
was crazy cool. It still is.
I hope so. Yeah,
Well,
it'll be fun. I'm really glad we're getting to have it where we're going to have it, because for one thing, we'll have 2 days there, so we can just kind of camp out there and we won't be rushed and stuff like that. And then two, it'll be pretty in the mountains,
yeah.
and hopefully even maybe the leaves will have changed a little bit by mid-October or so. That was our hope. And we actually just lucked into, Sheila and I were trying to plan, and we wanted to grab a weekend because they were already getting booked up even 6 months ago when we
Yeah.
booked it, or however long ago. And we just lucked out that the fact that we are playing Mountain Heritage on that Friday
Yeah.
night, that was just a fluke.
Perfect.
I mean, we didn't plan around that.
The only
but
thing could be better is if it were Avery.
perfect.
Avery might be just a little more. At least for my era, it was about Avery. That's the ones we decide, but Mountain Heritage is great.
Heritage was their arch rival. But I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it'll be all good. It'll be good to get out, and I hope the weather's good and people can go and enjoy it and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I may try to come up for the football game. I knew for sure I'd like to get up at lunch, and if we're going to shoot some a little video or something, maybe we set up a little space where I don't want to walk around putting cameras in people's faces. I thought what I'd do is set up a camera that can record for 6 hours and let people walk up and say something.
I think that'd be awesome.
And maybe still shoots if people are dancing, having fun. Take a GoPro around and get some people, something that's discreet and doesn't bother people, and get some video of them dancing. Maybe so that's kind of what I'm planning to do.
That'd be kind of fun too, to some degree, to like shoot people as they come in and then shoot people as they leave, like almost like before and after the beer and wine get served. That would be an interesting video, I bet.
So if you had a plea, or not a plea, a request to everybody who's not signed up yet, what should we say to them? I mean, is it better to go ahead and do it and as soon as you can respond so we can make the plans, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, we'll have we have about 6 weeks now, I think, and I think I counted the other day, and we have about 30. Well, it may be more than that, but about 30 people that have responded so far. I think we found out from our about 20th reunion that we had about 45 of our classmates actually show up, and then and then you include their spouse or whatever. So it may be. And I remember going to other reunions in the past, and sometimes you're surprised because the ones that you think will come don't come. The ones that live 5 minutes from the place don't come, and and then we had somebody like Brent Stiles, I think, flew in from Chicago.
Wow, awesome.
So you don't really know who's going to show up. And one thing I've kind of learned through this too, which I never really thought about before, is that we had pretty good experiences in high school, but not everybody did.
Yeah.
So, you know, some people aren't, when you say come to the reunion, aren't that thrilled about reliving anything to do with high school.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I mean, it's everybody's, you know, privilege to do whatever they want. But, and we are making an effort to try to reach out to everybody. But actually, the annuals and everything are a little off, because there's like I think Caroline really did a cross check, and there's like 70 people that we went to school with that we actually didn't graduate with.
Right. They came in and out at certain points. They went to school with us during that period.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Or they had something to make up and they graduated 6 months later, I guess, or they moved or just whatever. But there was kind of a big discrepancy when we tried to match up, you know, what was on the back of their graduation program with high school annuals and with grade school annuals. And I give Caroline's Silver McDonald, all the credit on that. She really kind of did that work. But she was saying there was just like a large number of people that we actually went to school with, but we didn't all wind up graduating at the same time.
Yeah. So. Boy, I look forward to seeing Caroline too. There's so many people. It'll just be very cool in my mind. I hope everybody's comes in an awesome spirit, just to, like I say, just hug and love on each other and just be very cool. It just, to me, I find myself thinking back to those days a lot more now. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's because of all just the insanity of the world today. And you think back to those better times. And I do. I miss the mountains. I mean, I live, 50 miles away, but still, it's a special place. I know we're scattered all over the country. Who knows where? But it's going to be great to see who does show up, who comes together, and everybody, if you would, give it a shot. Come and.
Well, you said, what would I say to people? I would say, we do have a Facebook page out there, and it's Mitchell High, class of 1982, and then it says Bakersville, North Carolina, because I wanted to make sure we didn't get confused with some other Mitchell High somewhere else. So that's out there on Facebook, and so if you'll join that page or put in a request to me, Jackie Burleson, we were getting a huge number of people at one time that had nothing to do with our class.
Yeah.
Joining, so we locked it down and made it private. I mean, literally, we were having people from China and India and wanted to join our group, and I was like, "Why?"
And just to clarify, it's not just for people that graduated in '82. If you were a freshman at Mitchell from '78 to '82, you're welcome to come along, and you get 1 year. Yeah.
But just know one thing about the reunion is that the space is sort of limited to around 100 people for fire code things. So if you actually notice me kind of saying, it's just class of 82 and a guest.
Okay.
That's why.
I see.
We'd like to open it up to more people in a way, but we would literally have to move to another venue. And I do have a backup plan for that if we needed it. Yeah. But if we can keep it to like about 100, it's about 100, keep it to that or around that, then we can all stay over at Springmain Mountain the whole time. So that's why I'm being a little picky also about saying it really needs to just be us classmates and your guest or whatever. So.
And Keith Stamey's band's going to play. We're having live music.
No, not. So that's been.
We're going to have a DJ.
We're in the process of trying to find a DJ. So if you know anybody, let me know.
Well, I do know that Travis McKinney sets up PA stuff for DJs.
I heard his name just today.
You might contact. I don't know if Travis does the DJing himself. He would certainly know the music of our era, but if not, then I know that very often he sets up PA gear for the DJs, so he's definitely connected with them.
Okay. Well, I got on the phone today and called or emailed about 5 or 6, and about 3 of them got back with me and said that they were booked already.
Yeah.
It's not that far off. So, and I got, I think Brett Stiles actually gave me Travis's name today, so I'll probably reach out to him soon and just see what he says.
Thing
So.
about it, Travis is a pro, and he's funny, and he's one of us. He's 2 years younger than us, but he's still.
Oh, okay.
He,
His name sounds familiar, but I don't know if I really know him or not.
oh,
so.
you'll remember him when you see him.
Okay.
He's awesome.
Okay.
All right, well, Jackie, I won't take up any more. Anything you want to ask me before we go?
Well, what are you doing now, and where you're living? Like, how long have you been there, and what are you doing?
Okay, well, I'll keep this very short. So I graduated with a degree in English communications, internship in television. Got into retail though, and worked for Brindle's for a while. Got into human resources for Brindle's, working corporate human resources. Ended up going to Mayland Community College and being a HR director. So I was HR director for about 3.5, almost 4 years at Mayland. While I was there, I started learning had to make employee handbooks and fire escape routes and stuff like that, and started learning how to use the little Macs. I had the little screens on them.
Yeah.
And so started learning graphic design. And I don't know if you remember, but I was in drafting. I did 3 years of drafting in high school, so I knew all about how to, really visually, graphically design things. And so anyway, eventually through hook or crook, I worked for a big engineering firm doing reports and graphics and maps and stuff like that for them. Then ended up going to work for Christian Tours, laying out catalogs. The web started happening, learned web design. I was one of the first people in North Carolina that was not in broadcast that was doing nonlinear video editing. So did that, was doing that back in the early, about mid-90s, 93, 94. And then got into work for Atrium Health, Caroline's healthcare system, whatever you want to call it. And worked in Charlotte for them. They're corporate for a while doing websites, digital video, whatever. The whole time, along about early 90s, I started doing freelance work. So I was doing graphic design, photography, video, audio production. And so I became sort of a general purpose, all-purpose audio, video, photography, writing, and web design. And so
those are all great skills.
And it's kind of odd because I sort of by hook or crook I had to learn all 5 of them. And so, but got into healthcare. That's where the money and the steady work was. And so I've been 21 years working for either Atrium Health, Caroline's healthcare system. Now it's UNC Health Blue Ridge, so I work for UNC now. I also did a stint with Mission for about almost 2 years. So I've been in healthcare doing websites, photography, video, social media, all that stuff. And that's where I've landed is I became that guy, and I live in Valdez and love the Catawba Valley. Married Nikki, went through one divorce, met Nikki, got married. We have a great time. We got if you see me leaning down, I got this golden doodle here on the floor. Love him. And so got to take him out to poop here in a minute. And, so yeah, that's sort of been my story is that and the whole YouTube thing happened. And I did not plan on that happening. I did little hiking videos for a while, and people started asking me, what kind of camera do you use? Or, hey, you did Table Rock. Are you ever going to do Hawksbill? And so they would give me recommendations for videos they'd like to see. And just for fun, I'd just go out and shoot them and say, hey, yeah, here's Hawksbill. Or hey, what's Marion, North Carolina like? And I'd do a drive through Marion with a GoPro on top of my car and show people.
I love that.
Yeah, people noticed a guitar behind me one time. Hey, do you play guitar? And so I played some guitar one time, and then people started liking the guitar videos, and then people started sending me free guitars. And hey, review this. And Jackie, I'll tell you this just tonight before I got online with you, I did a yogurt review. This sounds funny. So anyway, I won't make the story long. Hey Hendrix, let me see if I can turn this around. Can you see Hendrix? He's so cute. He's great. I'll say that this is how crazy the YouTube thing has been. Then I'll shut up. But so do you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
You remember the Mountain, the guy that was this big evil soldier of the Mountain that killed people? He was like, it's humongous. So that guy owns a yogurt company, and he sent me yogurt from Iceland and actually hand-packed it himself. So the mountain has sent me yogurt, and I just got through shooting a video about it.
And does that? I mean, and that really they want that review for like Finland or wherever he's at.
Well, what happened? They sent me some yogurt about a year and a half ago, and I didn't realize it was the mountain. They told me that the owner was some strong man from Iceland, and they shipped it to me from Iceland in dry ice, and all the way from. And it arrived, and it was still frozen. And I did the review, and I had no idea. Here I am, a huge Game of Thrones fan. I had no idea that the strong man was the mountain. And so fast forward to this past week, they sent me a shipment of it, and now they're manufacturing it in Pennsylvania. And so they shipped me some from their final product. Now it's at Earth Fair. See if you know where an Earth Fair is. I think Asheville and Boone, the closest place you go. But you can get this yogurt. Do what?
What's the name of the yogurt?
It's called Thor's Skyr, Skyr. And what it is the smoothest, awesomest yogurt ever. And it has almost no sugar, has no sugar, almost no fat, almost pure protein, and it is the best. So yeah,
sometimes you just can't predict where life is good.
Who would have thought that?
That's crazy. I mean, you're probably a celebrity in Iceland.
I don't know. The funny thing is most people in Burke County have no clue I do this, but people in England and Australia, or France, it's crazy. Well, let me go poop this dog. Before I post this, I will let you watch it. So I'll make some. Was there anything you can think of that we talked about?
Thank you for asking me. No, I was trying to think if there's anything else about the reunion in particular, but
there's nothing I should cut that you can think of.
Any what?
Anything I should cut that you can think of that we talked about? I'm not.
Not really.
Okay,
no.
Cool.
No.
We ain't gonna say anything bad about nobody. we're about love and peace and all that.
But I'm like you. I'm really looking forward to having everybody together as a group, and everything. And like we've seen, like with some of our classmates, some of them are not in the best of health, and it makes you really appreciate just your own health and life in general. And we're pushing 60. Believe it or not.
I know. It's hard to believe.
My mind's eye, I'm 39 or something, but literally we're starting to be that age of 60, and it's
people watch my little YouTube videos about guitars, and I'll mention that I can remember when the Beatles were still a band, and that blows people's mind. To think
right.
that
you look young too, so you don't look like.
But you remember when the Beatles were on lunchboxes, and Long and Winding Road was the song we listened to on the radio.
Right. My sister had those albums, and that's how I got introduced. My sister was older than me, so she had those albums, and I wound up listening to that. Sly and the Family Stone, and which I think Led Zeppelin.
And then all the disco thing happened. We have lived through classic rock, disco, punk, hair bands, grunge, hip hop. We've lived through all that. It's almost like our generation is maybe one of the most musically diverse generations. That's a whole other talk we could do sometime, Jim.
That is a whole other talk. And I think even our generation has lived through. We didn't have cell phones.
You're right. We didn't have Hey, you remember the first calculator you got?
Oh yeah, huge, right?
And it cost like $50. It cost like a week's salary to get a calculator back when you were in 7th grade or something,
Right. So we've really lived through a lot of technology, and then I also think we've lived through the world being a really extreme safe place, so to speak, to now going to lots of uncertainty. It's almost like the safety and certainty even our parents had. We don't really have that now. It's kind of like we're the first generation in some ways that we had it, and then it all evaporated, or it just everything changed midstream. So it's we've had to do a whole lot of adapting.
Yeah.
And then we've got more to come. If hopefully we live a long life, it's almost like, oh gosh, what's next?
Yeah. Well, the thing to do is like always, just take life one step at a time, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and keep faith and believe in your friends and your family, and yeah, it's and living in a place like where you live, that helps. It helps being around good people. It helps being in a good community.
it does. It does. And and just again, you're right. Just stay in the moment of every day, and because we don't know what the future holds, somewhat, and so just that's one thing I'm trying to be better about. To be more grounded and be more present minded, I guess, and not really looking it back and not really looking to the future much. Just trying to stay right in the moment of the day and enjoy what I have here because
Amen.
it is enjoyable. It is a beautiful
Amen.
trip. So yeah,
Jackie, thank you for your time. God
yeah,
bless you, and I will post this. And if anybody is on the fence about coming, come. We'll appreciate seeing you. I'll appreciate
yeah,
seeing you. Yeah, come
yeah.
over and definitely say hey to me and talk to me because it would mean the world to me. So
Right.
at least that's coming from my heart.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
I always end my little YouTube videos by saying peace to everyone who watched. Thanks for watching in. This one
yeah.
will be posted on my YouTube channel and also on Facebook. So those of you who watch on Facebook, go to Jackie's page set up there. She's already told you. I'll put a link on the screen in the description so you
That'd
know
be
where
great.
to go. And if you can sign up, it would be awesome to see you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jackie. You have a
Thank
great
you,
evening.
everybody. Thank you for inviting me. So
You
it's
bet,
great.
lady.
Catch
Thanks,
you.
thanks so much. We'll see you.